Hello everyone and welcome. I am Andy Bryan from The Entrepreneur's Journey, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the hero's journey and you as it applies to you and your life. I'm really looking forward to actually getting started today. Before I get started, I'm just going to make sure that it's all streaming properly and all working so that you can obviously interact and engage with me. What I wanted to do today is let you know that it's all going to be broadcast live through YouTube. So those of you who want to comment, interact and engage, you can interact and engage just on the right hand side where it's got a comment section. I will be keeping an eye on that throughout the actual presentation itself. So if you have any questions or comments that come up, please be sure to post them on the right hand side. And as I said, I'll be sure to answer any questions and comments that you may have throughout the show. So the hero's journey and you. To begin the presentation today, what I thought would be good was to give you an insight as to what the hero's journey is, where it come from, so that you can have an understanding of its origins, its history, and how it's come to play a part in each one of our lives, each one of your lives. Whether you're a coach, therapist, consultant, or you're someone that really wants to make a positive impact and change in the world, I believe each and every one of us goes through our own journey and a path. And this is what I like to call the hero's journey, because I believe we all have our own personal hero's journey that we each go through, which I'm going to be sharing with you today. So the hero's journey, where did it come from? The hero's journey dates back many years now to a man called Joseph Campbell. Now Joseph Campbell was a famous philosopher, psychologist who studied mythology and religion many years ago now, and he studied all the different areas of religion and mythology, from Greek gods to Roman times, and all of the old traditional stories that we remember today and we recite back to people today. And what he realized was from each one of those stories, each one of those each one of those stories had a set structure, but he realized there was a similarity between each one of those stories, between mythology, religion, and it also, as I said, plays a big part in our own lives as well. For any of us wanting to achieve something extraordinary with our lives, we'll go through the natural process of the hero's journey. But over the years, his work became popular, and he wrote a book, The Hero of 1,000 Faces, and also a very other well-known book called The Masks of God. And the whole idea of, you could say, both of those books was The Hero of 1,000 Faces. The premise is that every hero follows the similar structure, as I said, but they all wear a different masks, and they're known as the masks of God, which Joseph Campbell describes in his other book. Now, since then, a lot of his work has been popularized in film. So a lot of famous film directors have used the structure of the hero's journey to create incredible blockbuster films. And as we go through the process of the hero's journey today, what I'm going to do is also mention some movies and parts in movies that have really influenced different parts of movie and where they are in terms of the hero's journey. So one of the most famous movies is Star Wars. Star Wars was one of the most famous movies that was influenced by Joseph Campbell's work, and George Lucas puts down the success of Star Wars to Joseph Campbell, which I think is absolutely phenomenal, because George Lucas said that he followed the structure of the hero's journey to such a degree that that's what made it such an incredible and impactful film. There are many other movies such as Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Avatar, one of my favourites, and all of the Disney movies follow this set structure. But you may be wondering, as I said, how does this truly apply to you in your life? For those of you who want to be achieving something different, do something extraordinary with your life. I personally believe once we follow this set structure, we can truly grow, develop and transform our lives. And even having a clear idea of where we are on our journey can allow us to think, where are we now and where do we want to be? What part of the journey are we in, and what do we need to learn in this stage to truly transform through to the next stage? Because each stage of this journey is a choice, and it's a choice that you make and I make, and each and every person and individual makes, and to become a hero in their own lives, or a hero in your own life. So let me jump into the structure, but before I jump into the structure, what I want to do is talk to you about the early representation of the hero's journey, and again why I believe it's really important. So I'll first of all show you the structure. So what you can see here is the actual structure of the hero's journey, where we have the 12 stages, which we'll go through throughout the presentation today. And yeah, I'll explain that to you in a moment, but I do believe it's a journey of discovering who we are as individuals and rediscovering ourselves. It's a process of questioning who we are so we can rebuild our lives and, as I said, become hero in our lives, break free from societal conditions and what's been placed on us, to really embrace the true individual and person and people who we really are. So let me actually go to the actual, this image here. Now this image here represents our persona, and at the beginning of our journey I believe it's always important to align with who we are so that we can truly create the life we want. Because I believe when we're not in alignment with who we are and what we want to do, then we'll often not only be unhappy within ourselves, because we won't be in alignment with our true values and beliefs, and what we love to do in life, but we won't be delivering the full expression of who we are. We'll be tainted by our fears and our misconceptions and limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves. So before I get started going through the actual, the hero's journey story and the structure as it applies to your life, I wanted to talk to you about the persona as a whole and what that represents for you. So the persona here in this depiction is, as you can see, is a circular image, and the circle represents the actual structure of the hero's journey itself. So this represents your persona, and it represents you as a soul, you as an individual. So you can see the outward circle there is the persona, and inside your persona you have the ego, the self, and also your shadow. And I personally believe in order to progress and transform within our journey, we transform within ourselves, and that is all about nurturing our persona and becoming a complete persona and a complete soul and individual. So we have this circle here, and we have this line, and this line represents the original world that's above, the world at which we're comfortable in, we're familiar with, it's something that we're aware of, and as I said, it's a place where we're comfortable. And it also represents our conscious mind and our conscious decisions. And below the line is our unknown world, which we're going to be going through within the story. And within our unknown world we have the self and the shadow, which represents our unconscious mind. So what is the ego, first of all? The ego represents the conditions that have been placed onto us over many years when we're growing up, when we're taught to believe certain things about ourselves and our lives. We get beliefs from society, the world at which we live in. We get beliefs and ideas and ways of living from our parents. We get beliefs from the people we look up to in life, and these form our ego. But as they form our ego, they unconsciously create conditions in our mind, which these conditions could be conditions and beliefs about who we are, limiting beliefs, unconscious fears that are held deep within us. But it's not necessarily who we are. Now, when we go to our self, we look at ourself as an individual, and our self exists within our unconscious mind, and our self represents our values, our beliefs, our ideals, our motivations, and what drives us each and every day. But as I said, that's hidden within our unconscious. So we need to identify with that so that we can be the full expression of who we are, so that we can be happy and fulfilled within what we're doing, and so we can drive towards our goals in a way that is aligned with who we are and represents who we are as individuals. But then below that again, we've got the shadow. Now you may be wondering what the shadow is and what the shadow represents. And the shadow is very much the complete opposite of the ego, but at the same time it's formed from the ego, whereby the shadow is the suppressed memories and the suppressed emotions that have been formed from the conditions that have been placed onto you by society. Now again, these would be our beliefs, limiting beliefs. These would be our fears and our doubts and our any limitations that we have within ourselves. So that forms our shadow. But the interesting thing about our shadow is we don't consciously understand our shadow or see our shadow. Our shadow comes from obviously those conditions, but in order to see those parts of us, we need to do the inner work on ourselves, and that's why it's called the shadow. Within Joseph Campbell's presentation, Joseph Campbell often says, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And I believe that truly is the shadow and your shadow, because often you fear to go there. Now we have conscious fears and we have unconscious fears, and unconscious fears usually come from deep within, and they are often presented to us within our lives, and then that's the time we have to deal with them and overcome those fears in order to become confident in whatever area of that life that may be. But those fears are deep ingrained, and you won't be aware of them until, as I said, they do pop up in your life. So that is the shadow. But once we understand the shadow, the self and the ego, and we come into alignment with all three of them, that's when we start to create our complete persona. That's where we start to become a true individual and person and unique soul expression of who we are. Okay? And our journey is all about discovering that. Okay? So let's go back to the actual structure of the hero's journey now. And within the structure, as I said, I'm going to be going through each stage of the journey and how, as I said, it applies to you and your life. We are first of all going to look at the outer circle, which you can see there, and then we're going to be looking at the inward circle, which is all of the actual 12 stages themselves. Okay, but as we do that, I want you to think about how it plays a part in your own life. How it's starting to unfold within your own life. whatever that might be. Okay, because depending on which area of your life you are, you can think about how in the development process it can help you grow, or how you can use it to, you know, take that next step and next leap forward on your journey, so that you can create more success in your work and what you're doing. Okay, so let's look at the outward circle. The outward circle, as you can see, has within it, first of all, you have part 1, which is the call to adventure, and the outward circle is, you know, the complete journey itself. But you have part 1, which is the call to adventure, and this, throughout the first 3 stages, is the original world, the world at which you're comfortable with and that you're aware of, but at the same time you're not happy. Then we move on to part 2 and part 3, which is the unknown world. Now, the unknown world represents your transformational phase within your journey, and it's often described as your trials by initiation, is what Joseph Campbell describes it as. And, you know, whether you're a coach, therapist or consultant, I know many of you would have gone through, you know, joyful times, but at the same time you may have gone through difficult times and testing times. And so the unknown world is your, as I said, your trials by initiation, but it's a process of initiating you into the life that you truly want to create for yourself. You know, are you ready for this? Are you worthy of this? This is what the initiation process is all about, helping you reach a state of, you know, peace and tranquility and happiness within your life. But it's all that journey and process of you recognizing that value within yourself, recognizing that belief within yourself, and that worthiness of who you are as an individual and as a person. Okay, so it's initiating you. You think about each stage of, well, some of the challenges that you go through. Each challenge will be difficult. You know, each challenge will bring its own unique obstacles and different learnings. And these are your initiation phases. Are you ready to take that next step? Are you ready to become a hero within your own life and within your own business, if you're a coach, therapist or consultant? So that's part 2 and 3, which, as I said, is the unknown world and the trials by initiation, or the journey of initiation. And stage 4 is again the original world, whereby as we look back at the unknown world and the original world again from part 1, this is all about learning what we've done on our path so far, and this is about thinking what we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing, and how we can give back to the world. And so the road back is all about the journey back and the journey to giving back and making a difference in the world. And that's why I talk to you change makers out there, those of you that really want to make a difference, make a change, and really transform people's lives. This is all about thinking about your own journey, your own path, and how you've not only transformed your life and you've learned so much, but what have you learned on your path that you can pass on to others, that can really take a lot of value and transform themselves. You know, because you're the mentor, you're the guide that can help those other people within their journey skip this whole hero's journey in some respects, so they can create fulfillment straight away. You know, they will have their own personal journey, obviously, but it won't be as strenuous as some of the challenges that you've gone through, because you've been there, done that, and you can show them how they can obviously live that life for themselves. Okay. So now let's actually jump into the actual journey and story itself, as I said, as it applies to you in your life. And as I said, if you've got any questions or comments throughout the show or throughout the presentation today, please be sure to leave them on YouTube in the comments section, and I'll be able to answer any questions and comments you may have along your journey and path. Now that we're at the process of going through, again, think about as I go through each stage, where are you on your journey at the moment, and what do you need to do now to actually move forward and progress throughout your life and your journey as an individual and as a person. Okay, so step 1 and stage 1 is the original world. The original world is usually a place of pain and discomfort. Usually a place where you're at odds with the world. You're not happy with where you are or the world at which you're living in at this present time. And you want to make a difference. You want to make a change, and you want to, create this happy life. So this leads you on your call to adventure, which is stage 2. But it doesn't need to be a place of pain and discomfort. But I often find that with coaches, therapists, consultant, people that have gone through, terrible traumas and are now making a difference in the world, or passing their message on to others so they can reach happiness through that trauma, that they have gone through their own journey, and that pain point is their original world. So I want you to think about your original world. What was it, and where did it come from? Where did your journey start? But it may be the fact that you found yourself in a 9-to-5 job for a long time, and a position that you're not happy with, you're not fulfilled in. Your boss doesn't treat you well, and you're not happy with where you are. So that led you to seeking a place of running your own business, doing something new, and thinking, how can I help people? How can I make a difference in other people's lives? And that may be your start of your journey as a coach, therapist, consultant, that led you onto different learning courses in order to allow you to grow. So the call to adventure is a call that comes from deep within you, usually. You're calling to do something different. As I said, make that change. Think about what that might have been for you, and as I said, with people that have gone through severe trauma or even abuse in their life, it may be just the innate call to say, I'm not happy with where I am now. I've got to get out of where I am now. And often we don't know what place that will be. We don't necessarily have a vision of what that is yet, but we know we want to make a difference and a change, and we know we've got a calling to get out of the place that we are, the hole at which we're in at this time. And because often it's a place that is a place of unhappiness, and we feel we're at odds with the world, we will naturally face a refusal to go on our events, or a refusal to call. And the refusal to call is usually at a place of fear, fearing that we're not good enough, or fearing that you can't possibly get out of this situation, maybe even doubt. So refusing the call is a natural process, but it's not a step back, it's a step forward, because you know that you've taken that leap in order to try and get out of the situation that you're in. And this often leads us to stage 4, which is our mentor and helper. Now I believe prior to actually seeing our mentor and helper, or finding a mentor and helper in our life, we will have what's known as a threshold guardian, because you see stage 5, you've got the crossing the first threshold, which we'll talk about in a moment. But The threshold guardian is usually someone in your life that gives you that true motivation and inspiration to make the difference and the change, cause you to start believing in yourself and where you're going in your life, which then obviously causes you to take the next step. And also within this place, this is often where you find your mentor, because you've had that inspiration and motivation to take that next action, that next step on your journey. This is usually when your mentor appears. You may have heard the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that, I believe that's always the case. You will find a mentor that can then guide you on your journey, provide you with those learnings so that you can, again, grow, develop and transform. This may be someone that has gone through a similar path as yourself, or it may even be someone, that can give you guidance on your inward journey of self-fulfillment, very much like I do on the hero's journey transformational coaching, where I guide you through your whole hero's journey and teach you tools to grow, develop and transform within each and every step. Different tools from coaching, personal development, hypnotherapy and much more. But these will be the mentors within your life, along your journey. But let's look at a mentor type figure, because as I said at the beginning of this call, the whole hero's journey is about choice, and thinking about what choice are you going to make, what decision are you going to take. Are you going to choose to take the next stage of your journey, or do you choose fear? There's always that saying, do you either choose love or fear? It's a process of loving yourself, I believe, but that always comes to a choice. And if we look at The Matrix, I'm sure all of you have seen The Matrix, fantastic movie, but within The Matrix, Morpheus comes along and gives Neo the blue pill or the red pill. Which choice are you going to make? He offers him the pill to either go back to the world he's always known and always lived in, a place where he's comfortable but in some ways, as I said, not happy, or he takes the red pill where he can go on extraordinary adventure and start living in the Matrix, in the new world that he's starting to create for himself, or that he will create for himself after he's gone through all of his challenging obstacles, trials and tribulations. So the mentor is very, very key. But this could be a physical mentor, very much like Morpheus, as throughout his journey he was teaching him all the physical journey and all the physical steps in order to grow and transform his life. Whereas then you've also got the other mentors, and I can talk about mentors for a long time, so I'm not going to stay here too long. But one of the other films that I loved is a childhood film, and it was Pinocchio. Pinocchio follows the structure really well, and what the director and the writer did really well within Pinocchio is identified the characteristics of the mentor in terms of a mindset mentor. And Pinocchio, his goal and vision was the fact that he wanted to be a real boy, live a real life and be human, just like everybody else. So that was his journey, that was his quest, that was his mission. And when he started his journey, he made a wish to be a real boy, and so the fairy came to him and said, in order to be a real boy, you need to follow your conscience and be a good person. And with that, Pinocchio was assigned his mentor and assigned a person that could help him, guide him, teach him the right decisions and choices to make along his journey. And so Jiminy Cricket was the mentor for Pinocchio, and the fairy had said, always let your conscience be your guide. And your mentor is your conscience. Your mentor is your guide, and your mentor will guide you through the decisions, guide you through your journey and help you make the right decisions that are right for you on your journey. So it's important to think about that, okay? And what different mentors do you have in your life at the moment? What different mentors do you have on your path? And how are they helping you along your journey? Is it a physical process? Is it an emotional process? Is there something you're missing from your mentor? And is there something you may need to consider within another mentor? Or maybe you might want 2 different mentors that focus on different areas and different things to support you on your journey. Okay. Then we have number 5. Stage 5 is crossing the threshold. And crossing the threshold of adventure. And this is basically you stepping from the original world, the world which you've known and lived in for such a long time, and the place where you've been happy, to stepping in now to the unknown world, the place at which you're unfamiliar, uncharted territory, you could say, whereby it's all different, it's all new, and everything is now all about change and transformation. Now, I say it's a small step, but it's actually a very big step in your consciousness, because you step from being completely conscious and making these conscious choices to then allowing your unconscious to then take hold and allowing your intuition to guide you as you think about what you want to do, what you want to create with your life. And you start creating a vision for what you want to do and how you want to live your life. Okay? So that's really, really key stage, crossing the first threshold from the original world now to the unknown world. Okay? Stage 6. Now, stage 6 is fantastic. Stage 6 is one of the biggest stages on the journey. And you can see here that it says that it's called the tests, allies and enemies. But I like to go by the original name because I believe the original name says exactly what it is. And it used to be called the Road of Trials. As I said earlier, it's a place, your journey is a place of trials and tribulations, challenges and obstacles, each one of them allowing you to grow, develop and transform your life so that you can become the hero in your own life. And so the tests are your challenges. Your tests are the stepping stones to allow you to grow. You know, if you look at Avatar and you look at, Sam Worthington, the Avatar himself, he learned how to fight, he learned how to fly, he learned how to communicate, and so much more along his journey, so that he could fit into the tribe of the avatars. So what challenges and obstacles have you been facing in your life, or are you facing in your life at the moment? And what can you learn from them? So these are, as I said earlier again, this is your trials by initiation, initiating yourself so that you can, are you worthy enough? Are you good enough? These are questions that you need to not ask yourself, because I know you are worthy enough, you are good enough, you do deserve it. but thinking about, is this aligned with who I am? Is this right for me? And how can I transform through these parts of my journey? And this is where our allies come into play. So we've got the tests, and the allies are the archetypes on our journey. Now, there are many different archetypes on your journey that, again, can, help you to, live your life and help you to transform in different stages of your journey. The allies are the people that will support you, and the enemies, which we'll go through in a moment, are often the people that may seem like they have the best intentions for you, but they're not the right archetypes that can help you to grow and develop. But that doesn't mean that they can't offer you some really important learnings along the way. So the first archetype, which I've already spoken about, is obviously the mentor. Think about who are the mentors in your life, and how have they helped you so far, and how can they help you move through certain parts of your journey. Okay. The next one we have is the threshold guardians, and the people that give us that motivation and inspiration. You could say they're our cheerleaders on our journey. So it's important to have those people within our life. You have another one that's very, very much key, and I would say this is often someone that's neglected, and this is the divine feminine. And if I share my screen, actually, I'll go back to sharing my screen, and we'll look at archetypes, because I've got the actual page up here, so you should be able to see this now. So the hero and the heroine, that's obviously yourself, defining who you are, and what you want to be or where you want to be in your life. So that's you as the individual. As we've spoken about the mentor quite a lot, the mentor that appears to help you through your physical challenges, and also along your emotional journey and the inward journey that you go through each and every year. Well, every stage of your journey, really. You've then got the threshold guardians that as I said, cause you to think about, am I worthy? Am I good enough? These are often people that cause you to question yourself and ask you, are you doing the right thing? It's all about the introspection part here, but they are really important, because often, they represent, as I said, your cheerleaders on your journey. Shapeshifters will come over in a minute. We'll go through in a minute, because these are very much the enemies on our journey, but I will talk to you about them in a moment. We've got the shadow and the divine feminine. So the divine feminine, we when we think about the divine feminine, we think about what that represents. Who is the divine feminine as an archetype? The divine feminine is very much obviously a female figure, but the female represents someone that nurtures, someone that provides that support, and self-reflection at the same time. And so along your journey, you've got to think about, have you got a divine feminine as part of your team that can be the support, that can help you self-reflect, that can help you think about who you are as an individual and who you are within yourself, helping you, what you can see there, detach from